Hey everybody, welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast. I'm Shannon Sommerville here with Tyler Wiemann, and we're going to be previewing some of the divisions. We've already talked about the AFC West and the NFC West. Now we're talking about the NFC East, and it's a bit of a different animal.
NFC Least.
NFC Least, as some refer to. So, we're going to be taking a look at the different divisions and the win total, some of the fantasy players. We'll also recap what's gone on because I know it's been a long offseason. You kind of forget what's been going on. Try to get you ready for your fantasy football drafts as well. That, hey, before you know it, football season is going to be here and you got to be ready for that. So let's go worst to first. One note I do want to point out before we start getting into each of the teams, though, is that the NFC East, all the teams have the easiest schedule in the NFL. So the Giants actually have the easiest schedule, followed by the Eagles. And then the Commanders are fifth on the list, with the Cowboys having the 10th easiest schedule. Just something to keep in mind as we're looking over a lot of these win totals and stuff. So first, we'll go worst to first. So we got to start off with the New York Giants. They finished 4-13 last season. They haven't made the playoffs since 2016. Lots of changes in the Big Apple with a new head coach, Brian Daboll, who comes over from the Buffalo Bills. So he's going to bring some swagger. He already brought some good luck to the Rangers this year. Every game that he went to for the Rangers in the postseason, they won. I'm just saying. So it might be a good omen of things to come.
He should have went to a couple more.
In New York. I almost wish he was a Jets coach. But needless to say, when we're looking at the Giants and looking at Daniel Jones in particular, how much will he benefit from Daboll coming over? And Daboll's a guy who worked with Josh Allen and helped develop him. So is there still hope for Daniel Jones?
Yes, there is still hope. Not a ton, though.
That sigh was very telling.
Yeah, the problem is that he has not been able to stop from turning the ball over.
True. And
Daboll may help with that, but I don't think he's going to solve it.
Right. Okay, so they did, in defense of Daniel Jones, trying to play devil's advocate here, they didn't set him up for success.
No, they haven't.
By any means. Joe Judge
changing
coaches, and they've even admittedly said, hey, we kind of ruined this guy a little bit, so we've got to give him more of an opportunity. He'll get one.
Yes.
For sure, and this is kind of a prove-it year for him, certainly. So what do you expect out of him, if anything, in this year? It sounds like your expectations are low, though.
I mean, my expectations for the team as a whole are low.
Yeah.
He does have some upside because of his running ability, and he does have some weapons. His receiving core isn't bad. They have they're deep, at least as far as receiving core. And then obviously they have Saquon, who is another receiver almost.
Yeah. So that leads us to Saquon, who's been a bright spot on this team. And this will be a fully healthy Saquon Barkley, who says he's starting to feel like he's gotten his swagger back. Maybe last year wasn't fully, completely healthy. He was so focused on the rehab that he wasn't as focused on the actual game playing aspect of it. Remember, in his rookie season, he posted 2,028 scrimmage yards, 15 touchdowns. And in the 3 years since then, he has 2,391 scrimmage yards and 12 touchdowns. So just has not nearly come close to that rookie season. What do you expect from him?
I mean, a big thing here is that offensive line, right? It was awful last season. Can't really go anywhere but up from that offensive line. So I would expect a little bit more. Like you said, he's getting a little bit healthier. However, I don't see the high-end first, round draft pick running back with this offensive line and this offense.
Yeah. I am curious to see, though, his production and what his value becomes with under a new coach and who's had a lot of success at Buffalo, mixing things up and getting the running backs involved in the passing game and trying different things. I know one of the biggest problems for Saquon with the Giants was they just kept running him. He's an inside-out runner, and they weren't exactly using him to his abilities.
That is absolutely true. Another thing is kind of interesting, being Daboll's coming over from the Bills. Bills haven't really kept with one running back.
Okay.
You know, so
Not Breida?
does Burrito get a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, obviously Burrito was with Dable last year, so he has to like him a little bit if he's bringing him over to the Giants with him.
All right, so let's move along to some wide receivers or tight end. Who do you like of these, of anybody? If anyone.
If anyone, you have to like Tony.
Okay.
But, I mean, Sterling Shepard, solid. Kenny Golladay disappeared last year, but we've seen good years out of him before. Mm-hmm. But I think Tony is kind of the most interesting with some upside there.
Yeah. So a lot of it also, again, depends probably on Daniel Jones. Can he throw the ball? Can we see him?
And can he stop turning the ball over?
There you go.
You know, it's something that Allen has gotten way better about it from college to now. So hopefully Jones can too.
Yeah, they'll get him. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So taking a look at the futures market odds here, they have... You want to get in on that 8,000 to get the Super Bowl? No, I don't think you're hopping on that.
Hard no.
So their win total, let's just skip ahead to the win total, 7.5. Do you see them going over that, given the fact that they have one of the easiest schedules?
They do have an easy schedule. However, I don't see them beating enough of their divisional opponents to really hit 7.5.
I agree with that. So let's just move on.
Yep.
Washington Commanders finished 7-10 last season. Carson Wentz comes over. He was acquired by the trade in that deal with the Colts. 2021, his numbers were better. He kind of had a pretty abysmal 2020 season. He's got just middle of the pack numbers, but that's still an upgrade from Taylor Heineke, who was... I actually really liked Heineke.
I like Heineke too. I don't know if Wentz is that much of an upgrade.
Okay. So what do you see differently with this offense with Wentz, if anything?
I mean, he can run the offense. Yeah. We saw it in Indianapolis that he had the ability to do that. However, I'm really not sold on Wentz.
Sure.
So, I mean, they might as well just stick with Heineke and see what they have, in my opinion, because they're not going to win.
Okay. So, as far as Wentz, do you see him perhaps, I don't know, figuring it out, getting it together?
Probably
Is there
not.
I mean, the offensive line's slightly better. Washington is... The offensive line ranked 6th.
But he just came from a very good offensive line in Indianapolis and still wasn't really able to produce.
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the running backs then. Yeah. Maybe we can find some value here for fantasy owners. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Only Alvin Kamara has more targets than J.D. McKissick over the past 2 seasons among running backs. You also have Antonio Gibson in that mix as well. Who do you like here? What do you kind of see from the running backs for the Commanders?
Then they also drafted Brian Robinson.
There you go.
Yeah, so they got a lot of guys. Gibson obviously is going to take the majority of the touches, but McKissick is there and he's going to steal some touches. And so it's another situation where I don't think like Gibson is like a top 10 fantasy running back. He is solid and he's shown upside, but I just don't think he's going to get enough workload consistently.
Right. So Scary Terry. I love him.
I do too. I really wish he would get a quarterback.
And listen to this, right? So Terry McLaurin caught passes from Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Dwayne Haskins, Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, and Garrett Gilbert. And now Carson Wentz.
The who's who of quarterbacks.
Who's who of quarterbacks right there. So
just Washington's where quarterbacks go to die.
Although I kind of think Wentz is still an upgrade there, so maybe he'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
more production.
Wentz is an upgrade from most of those guys. I would agree. they just need to be able to get the McLaurin the ball. He's by far their best weapon.
Yeah.
And he's a solid player. He's probably a wide receiver 2 as far as fantasy. Mm-hmm. But I like him. I love him as a player.
Yeah, he's awesome. How about third tight end situation here is a little interesting. So Logan Thomas, he underwent ACL surgery in mid-December. Backup in this case, John Bates. Logan Thomas still someone you're actively going after in a fantasy draft, or are you kind of just over the Commanders in general? I'm starting to get used to saying Commanders, It's like a whole new look for the Commanders. Good old Washington football team here.
I really need to wait and see about Thomas. I do really like him as a player. I want to see how he's doing in workouts and stuff before I really take him. If he's coming into the season relatively healthy, then I do like him.
Okay.
If we're going to have to wait, a month, then
exactly.
No.
I always get wary about guys, especially coming off of that type of a surgery. I just think, even if they're fully healthy, it's like mentally, are you there ready to go full speed?
Yeah.
I don't know. So let's take a look at the futures odds here. Plus 7,000 to win the Super Bowl, plus 3,100 to win the conference, plus 450 to win the division. Win total at 8.5. Are you taking the over or the under? I think I already know where you're headed.
I would go the under with them as well.
You're going under.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm tending to agree with you. Even though they do have a pretty easy schedule, I don't know. I just think so many teams have gotten so much better, and they've really added so many pieces that I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Eagles and the Cowboys are significantly better.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to be hard to have 3 teams in this division over 8.5 wins.
Yeah,
this is a division a couple seasons ago that almost didn't have anybody over 500.
Yeah. I like Ron Rivera as a head coach, and I think he's really talented, and he does a lot with what he's had.
Good old Riverboat Ron.
Right, Riverboat Ron. Rolling the dice. But yeah, I just don't think they can get there this year. Sorry, Commanders fans. Now let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. 9-8 last season. Earned a playoff spot. They shifted their focus after Week 7, became the NFL's single most run-heavy offense. Week 8 to Week 18, they just kind of shifted things and put it into high gear, and they were just like, we're just going to run the ball down your throats.
Which they should.
They did that.
Yeah.
Okay. Jalen Hurts. I've been reading some stuff that has him as some QB1 potential. They're in some stuff with Jalen Hurts.
I like this team.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So he ranked 16th in Pro Football Focus passing grade, ahead of Jimmy G, Russell Wilson, and had no receivers last year, basically. Well, Devontae Smith, kind of going through some rookie season stuff. So what do you like about Jalen Hurts this year and the Eagles in general? What are initial thoughts?
Well, obviously, getting A.J. Brown is going to help. It's going to be a big boost to their offense. But his upside as far as running is one you can't kind of go past.
Right.
That alone puts him as a top 5, quarterback fantasy-wise. So you love to see that. I bet he takes another step forward. He is a guy that will work hard, so I'm sure he's been working on his passing game as much as he can.
Yeah.
And in clutch situations, he has come through over and over and over again.
So I wasn't initially sold on Hurts until I just actually started doing research for this. And I'll just read some stats that I found kind of interesting. So just goes to show you how I think he's really had nothing in the Eagles to work with. The Eagles were one of just 9 offenses to post a catch rate of 75% or worse on 20-plus yard passes that were deemed catchable. They're not good. Hurts had to deal with the 5th highest percentage of dropbacks where not a single pass catcher was considered open.
They were pretty pathetic last year as far as that.
And then this is a great stat for Hurts. So fresh off of posting the 6th most productive rushing season by a quarterback ever in terms of total fantasy points from purely a rushing production. Consider in 2021, Hurts scored more fantasy points on the ground than any single year version of Mike Vick. That's crazy. So I'm reading all this stuff and I'm like, okay, I have a whole new outlook on the
He did get a ton of rushing touchdowns last year, though.
Yes.
And you got to expect a little regression there.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles Sanders will probably have some progression with his touchdowns, seeing as he had 0.
Right, which was so crazy. But yeah, Jalen Hurts definitely, with, any running back that's in that system, it's like I feel to an extent they kind of take a back seat to Hurts, right?
Especially around the goal line.
Yeah.
Because, as we've seen with running quarterbacks it really gives an additional blocker having the quarterback run the ball.
Yeah.
And so running backs often take a back seat when it comes to that. Now, Miles Sanders, though, is a guy that can break a big run. Mm-hmm. So that alone should get him a touchdown or two. Yeah. But I would expect definitely some progression in the touchdown category for Sanders.
And you mentioned A.J. Brown earlier, which is, I think, huge for this team and could actually maybe help some of those runs, get some people open a bit more. And A.J. Brown, best receiver probably in this division right now because you're no longer
him or CJ or
Cee Dee
CD
Lamb.
Yeah.
No longer Cooper's with the Browns, so he's one of just AJ Brown is one of just 18 wide receivers with 15 plus PPR points per game since 2019. So in good company there. So A.J. Brown, how does he fit into this Eagles team? How do you kind of see that working out?
He's obviously the wide receiver 1 for them. Now, his fantasy upside, I think it may be a little bit lower than what we've seen with Tannehill. Tannehill's a little bit better of a passer, doesn't run quite as much. This team is very run heavy, and I would expect that to continue because they did see some success with it. Mm-hmm. So I would say he's somewhat similar to what we've seen with a slight downgrade. He also has a new system he needs to learn.
True.
So sometimes when wide receivers are changing teams, it takes them a little longer to kind of catch up with the system.
Mm-hmm. And then Devontae Smith probably loses a little bit on this.
Obviously. But he also is going to lose attention. Mm-hmm. So he won't be getting as covered as he was before, and he's probably getting the second cornerback instead of, the first, or instead of double teamed. So there's going to be some more chances for him to get open.
Okay. So let's look at the futures.
We should talk about Dallas Goedert too.
Oh, I missed that on my list.
Ertz did leave halfway through the season.
They're definitely going to incorporate that tight end.
It is now Goddard's job totally, as we saw towards the end of last year that it was all him. And I like his upside.
Yeah, totally. I think, as you mentioned with Ertz and then him coming in, he's definitely, I believe Pro Football has him at TE 10. Mm-hmm. So definitely some value there.
I think I have him at 8 in my personal.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think that they will start, especially because Hurts isn't, doesn't air it out down, on deep balls. So those, short passes can be very integral in that offense.
All of the receiving options are going to have a hard time getting lots of touchdowns just because Hurts runs so many in. Yeah. He's not going to be a 40, 50 touchdown guy like the Brady's or Allens or Mahomes of the world. So none of these guys probably have the touchdown upside, but they're all solid plays and should do work.
All right. Let's go to the futures odds.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for catching that one for me. To win the Super Bowl, plus 2,800. To win the conference, plus 1,400. To win the division, plus 210. The second shortest odds there. Their win total right now at 9.5. Over is plus 100. Under is minus 120. So it seems like people don't think they're going to reach that mark. What do you think?
I think they probably go over. and I would say they're going to win the division.
Okay. Yeah. Bold prediction there.
Yeah.
Maybe not that bold, though. I can't decide on this win total here. I'm going to say, given the fact that they have an easier road, I'm going to say over. Yes. I know a lot of teams are going to have a very tough schedule. We just went over the AFC West and NFC West, and man, those schedules are tough. So I think that is to their advantage. And the fact that they play against what we were talking about, the Commanders and the Giants are two teams that aren't at the talent level that either the Eagles or the Cowboys are at, helps. Let's move on to the Cowboys. 12-5 last season, and that epic collapse in that game.
They're
the
so
playoffs.
good at that.
So first, we've got to talk about there has not been a repeat division champion since 2004.
As I said,
Just
I don't think it's going to happen again.
You don't think it's yeah. So we've got the coaching continuity going for the Cowboys.
Yes.
McCarthy's in his third season. Offensive coordinator Kellen Moore is in his sixth season. And Dan Quinn in his second season as defensive coordinator over there. One note on the Cowboys that is always good for fantasy owners is they've got the fastest offense in the NFL, or they did last year, which is great for fantasy owners. Get a couple extra plays in there as well. So something I think it's important to note for people that when you're taking somebody from the Cowboys, good chances are they're getting a little bit more volume. Quarterback Dak Prescott, one of just 6 quarterbacks to average at least 21 fantasy points per game since 2019. But this season, he will be with probably his worst supporting cast since 2018, as Amari Cooper is now over with the Cleveland Browns. Yep. So how do you see that playing out?
It really depends on Cee Dee Lamb, right? So if Cee Dee can pick up some of the slack, and Michael Gallup, who got hurt last year, comes back healthy, I think they'll be fine. Prescott definitely has liked Gallup in the past and has kind of targeted him a lot. Sure. I think Gallup could have kind of a sneaky season without Cooper being there.
Just a note on Cooper's production that they're going to be missing. Posted top 10 marks in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. So that's no easy, simple replacement. But I guess if anyone can do it, it's those guys in Dallas. We can figure it out, just maybe not in the playoffs. We'll see.
They've just struggled in the playoffs.
Just have struggled. So now looking at the running back situation. So Zeke had some injuries last year, and Tony Pollard has just really stepped up. So Pollard's the fourth-year talent. He's been the NFL's most efficient running back since entering the league in 2019. Hey, but they're $90 million worth of reasons why they're going to keep feeding Zeke. And there's actually a pretty good argument for Pollard being maybe a little bit better. How do you view this situation?
It's hard for me to say that Pollard is better because we know that Zeke played last year hurt.
Yes, he tore his PCL week 4.
Yeah, so if we have a healthy Zeke, is he better than Pollard? I would say probably, but not way better. Pollard is a solid running back, a little bit smaller than Zeke. Maybe can't take quite as much damage, but he's an electric guy and can do some stuff when he gets in space.
Either way, both of those guys in a good position with the offensive line there in Dallas. That is number 1 in the NFL. Although they did lose on the offensive line there. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper traded. We know that. So Cee Dee Lamb and Michael Gallup up to them. Cee Dee Lamb's
he's the number 1 for sure. And where do you think he is as far as receivers fantasy-wise?
In terms of how he ranked last year?
I would say, what do you think for the coming year?
The coming year.
Yeah. Do you think extra volume and he's going to make another step up, or?
Yes, absolutely. With Amari Cooper out. Totally. You?
I think he's probably going to end up being around the same. I don't know if he can take that much more volume. And I think the biggest beneficiary volume-wise is going to be Gallup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tight end Dalton Schultz, just 6 tight ends. Listen to the stat. Okay. Just 6 tight ends average at least 12 PPR points per game last season. Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Rob Gronkowski, Dalton Schultz, and Darren Waller. I didn't even realize that until I saw that today. I thought it was interesting to note there. So, hey, don't sleep on Dalton Schultz, you guys. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he had a great year for sure. And without Cooper, he's probably going to be targeted a lot again.
For sure. So let's take a look at the NFL futures market for the Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl plus 1,800, to win the conference plus 850. And that's the shortest odds of any NFC East team, but the 5th shortest odds behind Tom Brady and the Bucs, Green Bay, Rams, San Francisco to win the division. They are the favorites, plus 115 on that one. Win total, 10.5. A little high for me.
A little high for me as well.
Little high for me. Looks like others are going under as well. I am still torn on this one. As I try to make a decision before, but I'm struggling.
Judging by the odds, minus 105 for over, minus 115 for under, sportsbooks are essentially saying it's a slight edge to the under on that, and I would agree with them.
Yeah, so you don't see them winning the division?
No, I think the Eagles are going to do it.
Here's where I like the Cowboys.
Let's hear it.
Micah Parsons.
He's so good.
Their defense.
So good. Yeah, their defense is solid.
The Lion is so good.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah, so, he's amazing. And you are right about that.
So that is
if they win the division, that is why.
I just think their defense gotta give that advantage to Dan Quinn. Morristown, New Jersey. Morristown High School. Went to my high school. So gotta give that edge to the Morristown. We were the Colonials, the Morristown High School Colonials.
But too bad they have Mike McCarthy.
Touche. So, yeah. All right, I'm going Cowboys. You're taking the Eagles.
Yep.
We'll have to place a wager on this one.
We can do that.
Let us know what you think we should be. Maybe, Tyler, if the Cowboys win the division, we might get to finally see a TikTok dance.
Oh, boy. You're really pushing for the TikTok dance.
I think it'll be hysterical. It's just it's great content, Tyler.
If I'm going to do something like that, it needs to be bad on your side.
Totally.
Like a Patriots jersey or something.
Oh. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And as you're getting ready for your fantasy football, be sure to sign up for Underdog and enter in some of their best ball contests. They've got, oh my gosh, millions of dollars you can win in the best ball leagues. Check out Underdog Sports. We'll drop the link for you below. And new users, we will match up to $100 on your first deposit. So free money, people, check it out.
You also can get 3 months free of LineStar if you are a new user to Underdog.
That's awesome. Great deal there, Tyler.
Yep.
All right, so that's it for today. Taking a look at the NFC East. We'll be here continuing on, taking a look at all the divisions to get you caught up with everything you need to know to dominate your fantasy leagues. We'll see you guys next time.
Have a good one. Bye.